Ford Fischer, editor-in-chief, News2Share, who shot the video you're watching right now. So Ford, walk us through this.
Yeah, so what was interesting today was that there were a lot of different groups that came out, many of them armed, to counter-protest this Pride event. This was the 6th annual Pride event, but the first time that locals and people from outside of town were coming to protest, many of them armed, as I said. Patriot Front, it seemed like, hadn't coordinated as much with these other groups. It sort of took the community by surprise that this U-Haul showed up. Police apparently got a tip, went and arrested them. Their tip apparently was that there were about 20 people, that they looked like a small army. And when the police apprehended them, it turned out there were 31 of them. When talking about this at the press conference, the police chief here said, in effect, that they would rather arrest 31 of them for a misdemeanor conspiracy charge than actually let them get here, do whatever damage could have been done, and then arrest them for it afterwards. So they felt that they might have been preventing something of a tragedy here. It's worth noting that there were 2 other arrests that they said happened here today, but 31 specifically Patriot Front.
And so what was it like there as you shot this video, the arrests were happening? If you would just kind of paint a picture, what was the scene like?
Yeah, so it was kind of challenging, I think, for law enforcement because outside of the police line that was being formed, you know, of course, there's this perimeter, and behind them, they're unmasking and one by one making the arrests, zip tying the individual people, loading them up. But on the other side of the police line, there were folks who were there who were participating in the Pride event. And there were also folks with firearms who were there to counter-protest the Pride event. I did see police from the police line saying, you know, don't engage, stop that. But it was a little bit more complicated than just, you know, separating 2 sides. You have people being arrested on one side of the police line, and then in front of them, groups kind of arguing with each other as well. Overall, this day had a number of armed groups here to counter-protest this event. Over a half a mile wide, the actual park that this was taking place at. So I think it was a very complicated operation for police, who had both a local police agency, county police, state police, and the police chief actually today in this press conference confirmed to me that they were in contact with the FBI all day.
To be clear, there was no violence, correct?
As far as I saw, there wasn't any violence. They basically seemed to believe that there was a conspiracy to commit a riot. The other 2 arrests that occurred, they said were basically trespassing. I had seen one person who came, basically a street preacher who was yelling at the Pride Parade, and he was told that because you're using an amplification device, you are now being told to leave. If you come back, you'll be arrested. And my understanding is that that person later was arrested. But there were a lot of confrontations in which people with firearms were holding banners accusing the members of the Pride event of being groomers. It literally said groomers on the banner. And so while it didn't escalate into physical violence, there certainly was palpable tension when you have people with firearms confronting an event that's marketed to families.